Welcome to the Boston Bros Political Podcast. I am Jim Campanini, co-host of the show, with my good friend, Boston Herald political columnist, Peter Lucas. Look for Peter Lucas's column in the Boston Herald Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. That's right. He writes three of them.
On Monday.
Oh, Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday.
Monday, Thursday, and Saturday.
Monday, Thursday, and Saturday.
And today is Monday. And today I have a column in the paper.
We were going to talk about that, you know?
Let's go.
It was Tuesday and Thursday, say.
That was when I worked for the Little Sun. That's when I worked for you.
Okay, Monday, Wednesdays. Very good. And this show is coming to you from InsideLowell.com, the Well Point Studios in beautiful downtown Lowell. We have our producer, Teddy Panos. Good morning, Teddy. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic, guys. Good morning.
Good morning. So, Peter, it was another big week in political news, especially in Massachusetts. But you've got a corker of a column in today's paper. You've had a really good streak, and you write about a lot of things that people have forgotten. Certainly I did, and you lay it out there, the Obama administration's appeasement to the Republic of Iran, the money that America gave to these mullahs and that theocracy through the years. When you look at it and you say, oh my God, you know? Why don't you talk a little about this column, which is a must-read?
The idea of the column came from a headline in the satirical website, the
Babylon Bee,
which read that Obama distraught as Trump bombs cool nuke factories Obama paid for. When you think of it, all the money that Barack Obama and then later Joe Biden poured into Iran, one way or the other, went to build these nuclear facilities that President Donald Trump just bombed. When you think of the irony involved in all of this, and this was money that under Obama that was frozen, billions of dollars frozen in Iranian assets, and money paid to free American hostages, and the same with Joe Biden, the ignoring of the hamper we had on their oil exports. It all went to to build the Iranian nuclear complex.
Yeah.
And it is amazing.
Well, let's just go backtrack a little and say, okay, so the Obama administration, 8 years of that, they were they wanted the Iran and its regime, the Ayatollah, to sign on to what amounted to a nuclear proliferation treaty. They wouldn't get. They wouldn't enrich the uranium to weapons grade and stuff, and we had to pay them. It was a payoff, a bribe to get them to sign a treaty.
We were bribing them to come to the negotiating table to sign these treaties that they were not going to abide by anyway.
Right.
And I compared the Ayatollah signing a treaty the way Hitler used to sign treaties all the time with Russia and France and so on, and turn around and break them.
Sure.
And ignore them. And that's what the Ayatollah did.
Yeah. Sign it one day and then invade the next.
Jim, that's what they'll do again.
Right. Yeah.
If Trump lets them off the hook.
So then we have after 8 years of Obama, and I remember because the when we sent the pallets of American money, billions of dollars,
Swiss francs, euros, $1.7 billion on an airplane, several airplanes, $400 million at a trip to Tehran, all cash.
Yeah. And there were U.S. citizens who the Iranians basically accused them of being spies.
They were kidnapped.
They were kidnapped, and they were basically tourists. But they could say anything they want. And here we are. Instead, now just look at what do you think Trump would have done if they grabbed these people off the street or the restaurants and said, "Hey, you're a spy"?
Trump has gotten the release of a lot of Americans held in third world countries, and he's not paid a dissent.
I know. So then you've got the first Trump administration comes in, and he brings Iran to its knees because he knows they're evil, and this was all crap, made up by the Obama administration. John Kerry, who was his
Gopher.
czar at the time, and Hillary Clinton and Secretary of State, and it was just crazy. So Trump puts on the sanctions again, dries up their oil profits and everything, but they're still working off Obama's money, okay, to basically fund Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, but they have a problem but China was willing to give them, almost $80 billion. That's what you have in your column,
Right?
In oil profits.
But don't forget, after Trump left office the first time, Joe Biden came in.
That's what I was going to get to that.
And he reversed all of Trump's programs that had the Iranians on their knees financially.
Yes. And then Biden just comes in and was it $8 billion? Was he gave him? He unfroze all their accounts.
He unfroze money that was held in accounts. It was frozen money. But he also paid billions of dollars to release American hostages.
Yeah.
Just like Obama did.
So now, if you remember, this was, I think it was the first year of the Obama administration. And then all of a sudden, all these terrorist activities just increased all around the Middle East, the world. I mean, you can equate it with the release of this money, these new funding. The Iranian regime and the Ayatollah, they didn't create housing programs for their people or jobs program. They started exporting this money to all these organizations. Hezbollah rises up. The Houthis start firing missiles in the Strait of Hormuz and basically causing chaos in the shipping lanes, the world international shipping lanes. And then you have the uprising in Gaza. I mean, it was amazing what transpired. And it was all from that money.
But it's also amazing how the Democrats, as far as Iran is concerned and what Donald Trump did, are almost rooting for failure. They're so critical of what he did, and what he did was an amazing accomplishment. Their criticism has reached a point where you got to ask it, are they in favor of this? Are they opposed to it? Are they in favor of are they supporting the Iranians? Are they supporting the Americans?
Well, it's amazing that since Trump's bombing on the nuclear facilities in Iran, I mean, things have quieted down all across the globe. I mean, you've got Hamas wanting to negotiate again in Israel. It looks like that ceasefire is, tenuous, but holding. There have been some violations. And then you've got the Houthis who have basically stopped firing rockets at the Strait of Hormuz and at the international ships. They're carrying cargo through there. And Hezbollah is all but uprooted. I mean, the Israeli Defense Forces basically took care of them. But what got me was that first Trump said that the Iranians wanted to talk. They were going to go to the table. Now I saw a story this morning. He says, I'm not talking to Iran at all. He said,
listen, Iran will come around to Trump's way of thinking. Otherwise, there will be no Iran. Or there'll be no Ayatollah running it.
Yeah. And I can't, it's incredible to believe that the incredible success of the U.S. military and the Air Force to drop these bunker-busting bombs. And the more we learn about this 37-hour mission, this flight mission from the U.S. overseas, refueling, dropping these bunker-busting bombs. I mean, the information's coming out. You destroyed their operation. You destroyed their centrifuges. And still, the Democrats and anti-Trump administration critics just keep clinging on to like these grains of sand to say, oh, it wasn't a success. Why did they bomb Iran? I mean, they said they were going to use it for peaceful purposes.
Listen,
oh,
well, let me ask you a
it
question.
just gets me.
What would have happened if Kamala Harris was in charge?
She would have sent more money to Iran. But no, we would have never stopped this enrichment program, and you know, even the Israelis I mean, they're tremendous. The Mossad, spies on the ground, they had this really close to creating a nuclear bomb.
You do not want the Israelis as your enemy.
That's right, and you know. And Iran is gone publicly from the highest people, the Ayatollah. The first bomb was going to be nuclear bomb was going to be for Israel, and the second was going to be for the United States.
They made no doubt about that.
Yeah. So, you know, the European Union and all those nations are on tender hooks for years. They've been held hostage by the crazies of Iran. You never know what they're going to do. You can't negotiate with them. Israel knows what they're dealing with, and that's why they've been so forceful in saying you have to take it out. And it's just amazing that President Trump stood up for American interests, both here in this country and overseas. And it was a glorious day.
You know what should happen now? Barack Obama should get his Nobel Peace Prize and turn it over to Donald Trump.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that ain't gonna happen, and it'll be interesting to see if Donald Trump receives a Nobel Prize, but I don't think that's going to happen either. So we'll just have to see what transpires in the days ahead, because these things are fast moving, and I just think that a lot of people, a lot of leaders in Europe and the Middle East are breathing a sigh of relief.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So.
When he went over to NATO, he went over like a king, the way they treated him this time around. Far, far different from the first administration when he went over and they mocked him behind his back. Now they're all praising him left and right, and everybody is coughing up to pay their dues to NATO, which is an amazing accomplishment in and of itself.
So, you know, Trump had a good week, the Trump administration. This was a major victory, the Iran attack on the nuclear facilities. Then the U.S. Supreme Court came out with a major decision. I mean, basically said that U.S. district judges, it limited their powers. The district court judges in America, most of them being, I don't know, they had a liberal bent. They were appointed by Democrats. They basically were trying to take over the government, saying that Trump, he couldn't use his executive powers. I mean,
there are 680 federal district court judges in the country, and a handful of them were subjected to judge shopping.
Yes.
Liberals who were opposed, Democrat progressives opposed to Trump policies, went around shopping for leftist judges for get injunctions against the President of the United States, which is what happened, and stymied Donald Trump in many areas. And the court ruled a district court judge cannot do national injunctions.
Yeah.
They have to stick to the district that they were appointed to adjudicate over.
Right.
Big win. Big win for Trump.
Well, yeah. Now this sends back to the courts. I mean, it didn't. I mean, it really didn't rule on Trump's immigration policies or anything like. Just basically said, "Hey, district court judges, listen to the case, but you cannot stop the president from issuing an executive order. This is our business, you know, and Congress's, right?"
Well, you reached a point where judges, when he was sending illegal immigrant criminals to El Salvador, were trying to get the plane to turn around.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and you just say to yourself, what are they thinking? Don't they know that this tears at the fabric of the judiciary and the
they hate Trump so much, nothing matters.
And the legislative process. And it was a 6-3 decision, so it wasn't like it was close. But one of the justices, Ketanji Jackson, right?
Jackson, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she issued a dissent that was so over the top, it didn't even take into account the Constitution, the legal precedents of 200 years of judicial rulings at all levels. And she just wrote in her dissent what she thought. I mean, it was like street cred, you know. I mean, you know, and talking about an imperial, we have to stop an imperial executive order. So, Justice Amy Comey Barrett, who wrote the majority opinion, you know, she basically had enough with this, saying,
She
"Hey,
castigated her.
She castigated her and basically said, "Oh," and she did it in one perfect line. She says, "Oh, wait a minute. So you're saying that what your ruling is that we got to stop an imperial executive office, but in the meantime, you want to make an imperial judiciary."
Right.
I mean, it was a class. I mean, simple line, but all this. And the other justices, even Sotomayor, who was with the dissenting group, I mean, her dissent was strictly based on legal terms, and she stuck right to the civility of the court. What is at issue? Okay, the civility of the court. So when, you know, you could always count on the Supreme Court, whether you agree with them or not. They're going to represent American people as being civil and saying, "Hey, this is the reason." But you know, after it's over, they come together, they make their rulings. You could read, and some of those rulings eventually are overturned as new evidence. Times change and circumstances change also, but they're always stuck to the principle of the rule of law. This was macabre. It really was.
And all these dissenting judges, they all came from about 5 left-wing communities in the country. L.A., Boston, Washington, Seattle, you know. And that's where these left-wing judges were. And they were trying to rule the country from their district court benches.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And I saw over the weekend, even Justice Roberts, he was speaking at seminar. I mean, he didn't finger point and name names, but he was very adamant too about how the court operates, the Supreme Court, what its role is, and you know, you have to stay rooted in legal precedent. I mean, imagine if you got 9 justices who just want to make up the law as they go along. And so how does Justice Ketanji Jackson, does she apologize? How does she come back from this? I mean,
She's appointed for life.
yeah.
That's the answer. She doesn't have to apologize to anybody.
But I mean, she's a bright woman, a jurist, but it just goes to show you never know who you get on the court, because when they go through the process, they hide so many things, you know, from what they really think. But she made it clear where she's coming from.
Don't forget, she was the judge who, before a committee confirming her appointment, who couldn't define the difference between a man and a woman.
A man and a woman, yeah. And she was so anyway. But,
even I can do that.
But it's going to be interesting. So they also ruled in favor. Well, they struck down funding for Planned Parenthood. Okay, when it comes to providing abortions, they should not receive federal funding. I mean, this has been going on for decades. Okay, the fight over this and stuff. But Planned Parenthood, you know, whether you agree with them or not, they've just been, you know, getting their tentacles deeper and deeper into the federal budget and you know, communities all across the land, and so it was finally decided, you know, that the court ruled that no, they should not get federal funding.
Right.
Leave it up to the states.
Yeah.
If a state wants to fund Planned Parenthood and give them taxpayers' money, they could. But that will also present, I imagine, a lawsuit. But
We have to take care of the lawyers.
Yeah, but at least it was resolved. And now some other major decisions are supposed to be announced this week, so it'll be interesting to see what transpires. But right now, it's trending in favor of the some of the policies that the Trump administration has endorsed and sanctioned. So it's going to be interesting. And the Trump derangement syndrome just keeps going higher and higher.
It's bigger and bigger.
Oh man, it's just no one can look at these things and just digest them and say, hey, this is how the process works. This is what we're going through. They start finger pointing at everybody, the judges, conspiracy. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, talk about the anti-Trump derangement syndrome. Look at the results in the New York primary for mayor.
Yeah. Mamdani, a self-described socialist,
Right.
Two-time assemblyman in New York City, and I think he's a racist. I don't use that word lightly.
Just because he hates Jews and white people?
Yes, yeah, and he's come out and said it. He wants to tax rich white people. He didn't say rich people. He said rich white people.
Right.
And he said he's thinking about putting in a neighborhood tax, white neighborhoods. I mean, how do you get away with that in this country? And yet, the New York Times and other liberal media are just rallying around this guy instead of exposing him for what he is and what he means and what he could mean to New York City.
The anti-Israeli intifada. He is for, persecuting the Jews. That's what it amounts to.
Mm.
And were he not running for mayor, he's the type of individual that would have been protesting outside Columbia University, where his father teaches, by the way.
Yeah. And we talked a little about this briefly on our last show because the election was held the night before, where Mamdani was a huge, pulled a stunning upset because he beat former Governor Andrew Cuomo, which didn't bother me because I think Cuomo's a terrible candidate, a thug. You described him as a thug. He doesn't do any better. But I just said, lamented the fact that the quality of candidates, New York City, one of the 2 or 3 greatest cities in the world.
8 million people.
And these are the candidates that you get, okay? And now they're talking about Eric Adams, the mayor right now, who's got several clouds over his administration. He's running. Is he running as a Republican or independent?
The mayor is running as an independent.
Yeah. And so the money now, especially from business leaders who see this socialist you're going to tax them right out of New York City.
Not only tax them out of New York City, he wants to defund the police.
Defund the police.
He wants to replace cops with social workers.
Yeah. So it's a circle, it just.
But you have to watch out for him, and he could win the election.
Yeah.
Because
he's got a very good chance.
Right now, it's shaping up as a 4-man primary. Him, and you got Eric Adams, the incumbent, who's running as an independent. Andrew Cuomo now is thinking about running for an independent. And then you got the Republican, what's his name? Curtis Silva. Yeah.
Guardian Angel.
Leader.
Yeah.
So you have a 4-member primary. And
well, it's a general election, though. It's not a primary.
No, it's a general election coming up now. It's a 4-member.
And the thing is, if Cuomo stays in it, I think he's going to dampen Adams.
He will be the spoiler.
Yeah, he'll be the spoiler.
He'll take votes away from Adams.
Yeah. And not that is any great shakes, but at least there's a little more sanity than what they're going to get. Oh man, New York City, God bless you. That Statue of Liberty, that torch just might be coming down a notch. I don't know.
You're going to turn New York City into L.A.
Well, yeah, it could turn out, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But why Cuomo is hanging in the race, I just don't understand it. He was beaten to the dust by this guy, when is enough enough? Get out. People don't want you. I mean, like, 𝐂𝐚𝐬𝐿 got a great line. He had an illness. The people got sick of him.
Yeah.
You know, he writes about that. Why doesn't he recognize that? You know, they're sick of him. So, anyway, but moving on. Okay, there was a good story in the Boston Herald, and they've done a terrific job on this shelter and crisis situation and the cost. I mean, 2 weeks ago, they ran a 2-page spread with charts about the growth of it and where the $1.3 billion went. And now there's a bunch of investigations about these no-bid contracts that the governor's office gave out to get these people, shelter and food them. And so, the governor has now said she's reformed the system, and she's closing down these hotels that had the shelters. I think there was 128 originally. Well, now a new story comes out in the Herald showing that the costs, even though she's closing down the shelters and releasing a lot of these immigrant families, the costs still keep going up.
Well, they're moving them to other places. That's all.
So I didn't even realize this home-based program. And it was funny that one of the activists, if you read the Boston Herald, one of these activists who actually tries to find people housing, Massachusetts citizens, okay, he said all this is a gimmick because this home-based program had a year ago 1,200 people in the program. Now it's up to 9,000. And he said, where are all these people coming from? And the governor's office says, oh, well, no more illegal immigrants are going to be getting, into this program. They're Massachusetts residents and citizens. Well, wait a minute. What is it? Are they U.S. citizens? That's what people are asking the question now. And this program has exploded. We spent $830 million, okay, on the shelter program last year. We're up to $1.3 billion. It's up another $500 million. They just passed the budget, the state budget at the legislature over the weekend, $61 billion. And they said it's got to end because, another $2 billion they put aside. It's crazy. In this home-based program, Peter, did you know that it's supposed to be reserved for families, okay? It didn't, I don't know now. I don't know all the requirements, but you can get up to $30,000 of assistance, taxpayer money, for 3 years in this program.
Well, why do you think everybody?
Plus, you get lodging.
Why do you think all these immigrants came to Massachusetts?
Well, this is what gets me. I says, oh my God! I said up to $30,000, and it didn't say if they were working. You had to be working families or whatever. Are these veterans? Are they people who have disabilities who are getting it?
The only good thing that's happened with the immigration crisis in Massachusetts is Donald Trump shut down the border.
Yeah.
So that no more are coming in. Otherwise, we'd have to annex New Hampshire to make room for all the immigrants that would be coming.
But here's the thing. You look at this home-based program, okay, and there's more and more people getting into it. You think the governor's office would reform the requirements. It didn't mention, how they get into it. Because this is the next budget buster now. You're just moving one account to the other end. And no one's getting, you have to take care of people, but give them the tools to take care of themselves. And it didn't say, you got free college tuition now in Massachusetts.
Free college tuition.
Some of these people eligible to do this. Look, they're bucking Trump's big, beautiful bill because he wants people to volunteer 20 to 40 hours a week to get their Medicaid.
He just wants
medical coverage.
He just wants people to work.
Yeah, and we don't have any of that. I don't think so in this program. What is going on?
But we don't have coverage in this show? I'm leaving.
But Peter, you read
Where's
the
it going?
headlines. We still have a housing crisis, and rental apartments are going through the roof. So here's this home-based program. They're finding rental apartments for these people, okay, because there's no more hotels and shelters and stuff. So all the communities in Massachusetts, 351, they don't have enough of apartments and to take care of their own. And here we are now. You got people working in government trying to find every apartment, okay, to put these people in. And yet you got working families who aren't even in the home-based program because they're not eligible. They're trying to find a livable rent so they can put their family in. Right. So the crisis, it just keeps colliding, and no one's connecting the dots. It just keeps, I mean, wasn't government supposed to, solve something?
Yeah, I don't think they want to connect the dots, because if you connect the dots, you'll see what a disaster it is.
Oh, man. And I read a story at the Boston Globe this morning that, and I don't know where they make this stuff up. They talk to 2 or 3 people, and they come up with a story, of the 58,000 federal employees who have lost their jobs under DOGE, okay, the story said many of them are looking to come to Massachusetts. Now, when I was an editor, that line would never get into the paper. Many. What does many mean? So does that mean 50,000, 25,000? But even if it was 1,000 people, okay, and it says they're coming here because of the better environment, the jobs available. And I'm saying, what better environment? We don't have housing for the people we have here in the state. Right. And these people are looking to come in. Well, you know what it is? Benefits, Peter.
Sure.
Benefits. Yeah. So these
yeah.
unemployed federal employees, like we need another government worker.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. To not solve a problem. But I don't know. They make up these. I think they make up these stories.
Just like they make up a hiring freeze. Did we have a hiring freeze?
Well, you know what?
A while back?
There wasn't one person quoted in that story who was an unemployed federal worker who says, yeah, I'm moving to Massachusetts for these reasons. So they make up a story. Talk to 2 or 3, it was an economics professor. It was an economics professor, Teddy. Aren't you a professor?
I taught one class, yeah.
They talk to, Massachusetts, great, a great environment for workers and stuff. And I'm saying to myself, where? I mean, it's crazy talk, and yet that's a story. That's a story in the.
Don't get me started on the Boston Globe. I worked there for 2 miserable years. So, all the veteran reporters are gone.
Well,
they have these young reporters who,
No, it just gets me because when you're an editor of a major paper, I was the editor of served as the chief editor of the Sun for 12 years. I was managing editor for over 20, and you look at these stories, and there's got to be some facts to it, some substance to it before you write it. I would have said to the reporter, hey, go back, find a couple of people who worked for the federal government, got laid off, and they're coming to Massachusetts. And why? What attracts them to Massachusetts?
If these jobs are open, why can't they hire Boston people?
Well, that's what I'm saying. One of the lines in the story says, it'd be great to have some A-plus talent in Massachusetts. So that in itself denigrates the people who are here, like we're not capable of doing it. I mean, it's just so stupid. And then another story at the same time, also in the Globe, was about Michelle Wu, and under her administration, construction has basically come to a halt. Building homes and commercial properties. It leads with, you remember all the cranes 2 years ago that dotted the Boston skyline and stuff? So I'm saying to myself, we don't have housing. We don't have enough building going on to house these people.
We have bicycle lanes.
We have bicycle lanes. God bless it. So I said, you know what? So I canceled my subscription to the Boston Globe. I did it. I just couldn't take it. Take
It's
it anymore.
understandable. I can
You know,
understand it.
I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to some of the stuff that goes in there, and everything is a fear-mongering headline. If this Trump policy goes into effect, it could cause this, and there's too many of those headlines. Nothing has transpired.
It reflects the ethics of the ethos of the Democratic Party.
So anyway,
Everything is gloom and doom.
yeah. So that
Under
that's
Trump.
That's another story. So anyway, any fallout? Anything more on the Karen Reed trial that got your attention this past week?
Well, I noticed that everyone's falling over themselves to make a movie out of it or write a book. And you asked me what I'm going to do this weekend. I'm going to get a haircut and I'm going to try out for a role in the movie. That's what I'm going to do.
Well, I did that. She did. Did she sign a book deal? Is that what the news was? Or she
Well, the news is she and her lawyer are exploring a lot of offers, and I'm sure they're going to make a lot of money out of this.
Yeah. So it'll be.
I mean, the
interesting.
lawyer is from the West Coast.
Hey, how about a former U.S. attorney, Rachel Rollins, reaching out to Turtle Boy, Aidan O'Brien, right? Is that his name? Aidan Carney. I'm sorry, Aidan Carney, and thanking him for his astute coverage of this. I mean, that was odd, wasn't it?
That was very odd.
What do you make of that?
I don't know. She's been out of the news, and maybe she wanted to get back into the news. I don't know. But
I mean, the guy was jailed by a district attorney, a Democrat, Morrissey, for harassment, for obstruction of justice. He's got a litany of charges against him. He's a blogger, and witness intimidation, which I guess that is a serious charge and stuff. And but I mean, she reaches out to him and thanks him for his coverage of the trial. Oh man!
Well, now maybe the search is for the real killer. There was a poor cop who got killed.
What do you think? You think you think they'll ever do that? You think
I
they'll
think-
reopen the investigation?
I think
the jury foreman wants.
I think it's incumbent upon the FBI to get involved into the investigation. I mean, the man is dead, and there's no one held accountable for it.
Yeah.
And I think it's worthy of an investigation by all means.
Yeah. I think justice has been served in Karen Reed's case, but I think as to what really happened.
And then there's also, the district attorney who brought the charges, District Attorney Michael Morrissey. He's a former state senator, well known politically. He's been totally silent on the results of the case, and it was his case and his decision to try her a second time, and he's 0 for 2. And his staff is a shambles. The state police who were assigned there were all critical. Well,
I can predict if he stands for re-election, he is not going to carry the city of Canton. I mean, Canton was just dragged through the mud.
I don't know.
I mean, this trial.
If all the cops in Canton vote, he'll win.
Yeah. Well, but I'm just saying. I mean, there are a lot of hardworking, good people in Canton who had no relationship to this story. But now it's a joke all across the country. The city of Canton has just been, tarred and feathered and stuff. And Morrissey had 2 bites at the apple. He didn't improve the case.
Oh, the case got worse.
It got worse.
The second time around, the case was worse than the first time.
Oh man! So
and by contrast, the defense the second time around was better than the first time around.
who's going to play Karen Reed? Do you think?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Any ideas?
No, none comes to the top of my head. I want to play the lawyer though.
Yeah.
I always wanted to go to law school.
I think I'd like to see. Is it Mary Maitland? Isn't she the deaf actress?
Yes.
Yeah, she won an Academy Award. Yeah, because Karen, she just sat there, made motions, a little mousy.
Right, she never.
She's a great actress, by the way, and I'm certainly not. But yeah, she'd do a good job playing there and fitting that role. See no evil, hear no evil, talk no evil.
Yeah, she just sat there for 2 long trials. Never took the stand.
which was probably a good thing.
But she did talk to Dateline and other,
Yeah, well,
television shows. And
yeah, well, we could do sign language and stuff. So anyway, but yes, I Peter, I just have to talk about you. Did you ever met Miranda Devine? She's the columnist for the New York Post. She used to work.
She worked for the Herald, and I'm not sure if I met her or not, but she did work there for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. So she wrote a column over the weekend in the New York Post, basically on Peter Navarro, the Trump special advisor during the first administration, and the handling of, he was subpoenaed to testify about the January 6th Capitol insurrection, riots, whatever you want to call it, during the Biden inauguration and stuff. And he did not comply. So the Biden Department of Justice, they basically sent him to jail, and he was contesting. I was a special advisor. Everything was done in confidence with President Trump at the time, which had been previously protected under prior administrations. So the Democrats wanted to break that line, and they did. They sent him the judge sent him to jail for 4 months. But even the judge in the case later, because they arrested Navarro early in the morning. They showed up with a SWAT team. They put him in handcuffs and also shackled his feet. He was on his way to the airport to go to a conference and stuff, and so even the judge later said, "Gee, it was a little heavy-handed the way." I mean, the guy's like a White House employee and stuff, but to make it, he went for 4 months, and then they did the same thing to Steve Bannon.
Right.
Okay, and so he went for 4 months. Now, so fast forward now, Anthony Burnell, okay, who was Jill Biden's aide de camp and confidant, and he's one of the people that have been targeted as eyed as the auto pen, the architect of Biden's auto pen, who was signing all these executive orders and making some of these policy changes and sign them. And they've zeroed in on him and several other people in the administration. So he was asked, to come voluntarily to testify before Congress. Well, he ignored it. Now he's going to probably get a subpoena from the Oversight Committee. And Miranda Devine writes, hey, if he doesn't comply, it's incumbent upon the DOJ send him to jail, which is only fair, I think. Right?
He was known as Jill Biden's work husband.
Yes.
He was so close to her every day. And I'm sure he was part of the decision-making process.
So they want to get to the bottom of this, what transpired in the Biden White House as his mental acuity decreased, and we could see it, over time. There've now been more and more stuff that's come out about it, and it was too bad. But Jill Biden, I mean, I basically blame her. Her husband lost a lot of dignity and grace, and I guess it was her lust for power or to retain power. I mean, it was up to Jill. Jill probably would have stood for re-election.
Jill Biden is a lot like Woodrow Wilson's wife. When President Wilson suffered a stroke and was incapacitated, she practically ran the United States government. And nobody knew it. And whenever anybody wanted to see the president, like the Speaker of the House or various cabinet meetings, they had to go through her. And they would not even get to see Woodrow Wilson, who was bedridden. She would take the message in and come out with an answer. And you never knew whether he was making the decision or she was making the decision.
Yeah.
And this is compatible to that. Although Joe is not bedridden, he probably should have been.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting because I think more Americans are interested, both Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, Independents, about what transpired over the last 2 years of that presidency, and it's sad to think that you don't want this to happen again. But say there was a real bad crisis like with the Iran strikes that Trump did. I mean, who's going to make that decision?
Well, look back for a moment. When
The Afghan withdrawal was a disaster. Who made that decision?
Who made that decision? Who made the decision on the border to open the border? Joe Biden, as president, kept saying the border was secure when everybody was pouring into the country. Now, maybe he didn't know the border was open. Maybe they told him it was secure, and so he said it was secure. We don't know. We got to find out.
Yes, and so I think I think it's incumbent upon Congress, and now it's the Government Oversight Committee that will make the decision to subpoena Anthony Burnell, and we'll see what happens. But I say, if he doesn't respond, if he tries to ignore it, put him in the pokey. Put him in the pokey.
If they did it to those guys, it's only fair they do it to this guy.
But she also writes in this column about, do you remember the FBI agent, Walter Giardina? He was the one who was involved in arresting Navarro, Bannon, but also the lead investigator for many of those so-called insurrectionists, people who were just caught up in the net, that were just standing there and prosecuting them. And he had his hands all over the Russian dossier. He ignored Hunter Biden's laptop. He's been suspended by the FBI. And she raises this point again that they got to dig deeper into this FBI, and there was a rogue group of FBI agents who just hated Trump. They've got emails now that have come from this Giardina's account, basically saying that, doing everything they could to obstruct Donald Trump from regaining the White House and from being reelected in that first election. I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
They're probably working for the Democratic National Committee now.
Yeah. And you wonder if Frederick Forsyth, who was one of my favorite spy mystery writers, he wrote the Odessa File, the Jackal, those books, and even John le Carre. What they would do with some of this stuff coming out of Washington. I mean, this is really stuff that you can only read in books, but it's reality. It's become reality. So we got to get to the bottom of that. So
what's happening in the country now? Novelists can't even keep up with it.
Yeah. Now, my last comment for the week, and I'll turn it over to you for the closing, is. I heard in this big, beautiful bill that Trump, being kind-hearted and compassionate, there's a line item in there to fund a presidential library for former President Joe Biden. The thing is, it's for a bookmobile.
I can't wait to contribute. I'll give him one of my books.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about this book, Rumpala. Over 20 years ago, and Michael Dukakis, former Governor Michael Dukakis, does the introduction.
I was cleaning out the attic, and I came across some copies of the book, so I brought it in to give to Jim Campanini and Ted Panos. It's about the downfall of communism and the rise of democracy in Albania. I think it's pertinent today when you look at the candidate in New York City running for mayor, Mandani. He wants to turn New York City into Albania under the communists. Believe me.
Unbelievable.
So we just had some fun with it.
Yeah. Maybe you should send a copy to AOC, too.
AOC, yeah.
But that would be good. So anything on your plate this week? You said you were going to get some Iranian flags and send them to a Democrat.
I've got a bunch of Iranian flags.
You think there'll be parades waving Iranian flags?
I gave them to several of my Democrat friends to wave this 4th of July weekend. Let's see if they have the courage to do it.
Oh, unbelievable. Great. So Continue to read Peter Lucas's column in the Boston Herald. It's a must-read. Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday.
Monday, Thursday, and Saturday.
Monday, Thursday, and
One of
Saturday.
these days we'll get it
I'm
right.
going to write it down on a card. Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, so happy 4th, Peter.
Happy
I know
4th.
you're a proud veteran and stuff, and not only did you serve in the American military and went to war, but you also covered many wars in your
Well,
career.
we've done that too. I'm ready to cover another one, but no one's going to send me anywhere.
All right. Well, thank you for your service, Teddy. Have a great 4th.
Same to you guys.
And enjoy your vacation, okay? And so this is Jim Campanini, and with the co-host Peter Lucas, sign off. Have a great 4th of July. Be safe.